only legitimate reason to put yourself through the stresses and burdens of having a startup company and being an entrepreneur, the only legitimate reason is because you want to change the world.
Working as a global army, we can together figure out how to improve the health and well-being of everyone in the world.
Something magical happens when you bring together a group of people who are all passionate about reimagining our health, our wellness, and healthcare.
You really want to change the world, you change people's lives, inside and outside, spiritually and physically.
At the end of the day, it impacts us. I think to be able to help people and help patients is what motivates us to go do what we do every day.
We do not need magic to transform our world. We carry all the power we need inside ourselves already. We have the power to imagine better.
Have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become.
If we work hard enough and believe in ourselves, then we can be whatever we dream, regardless of the limitations that others may place on us.
Every startup runs into lots of scary problems. And the ones who have a mission and a passion, almost a religion about it, they just don't give up.
Failure at some point of your life is inevitable, but giving up is unforgivable.
Success is not an entitlement. It has to be earned every day through the lens of humility.
It's like a little kid fighting a bunch of sumo wrestlers. Usually the sumo wrestlers win. We're a little scrappy company. Every now and again, a little scrappy company wins.
Welcome.
Good morning, health transformers and innovators.
Welcome to the 6th annual Startup Health Festival. We have an absolutely extraordinary 48 hours planned. It's really going to be extraordinary because of one reason, and that's because of you. It's because of the people in this room. It's because everyone here cares so deeply about the future of health and transforming health. Over the next 2 days, we're going to be exploring 3 big questions. What does it take to change the world? What is Moonshot thinking, and why does it matter? And how can we achieve health moonshots together? So, around this room, over the next 2 days, we have 220 health transformers that you will be meeting. We have over 2,000 health innovators and leaders, extraordinary people from all over the world. We have 110 startup health companies for you to meet. We have people from 40 countries. We actually just tallied this last night and we couldn't believe it. There are innovators and health transformers from 40 countries that will be here over the next 2 days. We will be sharing 40 health moonshot stories on this stage for you to see. You will see 10 health transformer spotlights. There will be 14 fireside chats with some extraordinary leaders, incredible leaders, people like Sue Siegel, Dr. Craig Venter, Dr. Jessica Mega from Verily, and many others. And we're extremely excited because for the second year, we have one vice president. Former Vice President Joe Biden will be here tomorrow delivering a keynote address, so we're really, really excited about that. So over the next 2 days, think about why you are here and how you can support health transformers on their health moonshots. Steve?
I want to take that as an opportunity to tell you why we're here. And we're here because we believe by working as a global army of health transformers and innovators who are supporting those entrepreneurs and health transformers, that we can accelerate the pace of innovation by working together. And instead of having this idea that over the next 100 years innovation will happen, we believe that in 2018, now 7 years in to our 25-year mission, that working together, we can achieve 100 years of progress in only 25 years. The idea behind that really comes down to how we can continue to support the innovators and the entrepreneurs. Over the last 7 years, since we launched Startup Health in 2011, over $40 billion has been invested in the next generation of innovation in health and digital health. That this year alone was more than the first 4 years combined, $11.5 billion by investors globally in health tech and digital health. And the idea behind this $11.5 billion is not only is it the biggest year by far, and not only is it more than the first 4 years combined, the idea is that innovation is being funded all over the country, not just on the West Coast and the East Coast, but in what one of our investors, Steve Case, calls the rise of the rest. The idea that entrepreneurs and innovators and health transformers are all over the country, but they're also all over the world. This idea that we're now supporting this next generation of innovation is really at the core of why this festival each year continues to remind us about the commitment to working on not digital health companies or health tech companies or life science companies, to talk about building health moonshot companies, companies that can achieve the impossible because they're bold enough to think the impossible can happen. In order to do that, not an ordinary entrepreneur, not an ordinary investor, not an ordinary organization can just look and say, this sounds interesting, let's take a look. It takes the kind of people with a certain mindset. In fact, what's been obvious to us over the last 7 years is that there is something very unique about the entrepreneurs and the types of people that support those entrepreneurs working on health moonshots. And that's why health moonshot mindsets are critically important. And the idea that you have a mindset to achieve a health moonshot. And that's why Startup Health is so proud to be building this global platform for health moonshot mastery, so we can continue to not only build this global army, not only continue to curate the kind of people who want to support this army, but this idea of health moonshots is something so profound and so unique to this moment in time. One of our partners, Google, who's got a room upstairs in the VIP lounge, has become as committed as we are to helping people achieve moonshots. But for us, health moonshots really requires a shift. And so for everybody in this room and everybody watching live on our Facebook feed, I want everybody to see the power of moonshot thinking as a backdrop to what today, tomorrow, and for the next 25 years should be the golden torch that continues to allow us to all believe that by linked arm in arms as an army, we can do this transformation, we can achieve these health moonshots together.
The actual moonshot is wonderful, inspirational, poetic, beautiful, involved great technical challenges, genuine heroism. It brought the world together. But think about the Polynesian islander on the dugout canoe, deciding one day they were going to go that way. No one had ever been that way before. No one even knew if there was anything that way before. It was amazing, and it changed the world.
People can set their minds to magical, seemingly impossible ideas, and then through science and technology, bring them to reality. And that then sets other people on fire, that other things that look impossible might be accomplishable.
Galileo is such a hero, in thinking big, and what he represents to me is both curiosity and wonder that humanity had, that pushed him and drove himself to invent and work on the first telescopes that allowed us to see the moon, and here we are.
These aviation pioneers were figuring it out as they went. No one really knew how to build an airplane, right? No one knew how to fly an airplane. It was amazing and crazy and wonderful, and they wanted to explore.
Many years ago, the great British explorer George Mallory, who was to die on Mount Everest, was asked why did he want to climb it. He said, because it is there.
There's so many challenges in the world, and you could feel daunted by that, and sort of oppressed by that, or you kind of say, how might we think differently about this?
Everyone else in the world is working on the next 10%. If you can be the one that delivers that 10 times improvement, you have a chance to really change things.
If you want cars to run at 50 miles per gallon, fine, you can retool your car a little bit. But if I tell you it has to run on a gallon of gas for 500 miles, you have to start over.
You need a lot of courage in this work, and you need a lot of persistence. One of the things that's really critical is not only having the courage to keep trying every day or thinking big, even if you don't really 100% believe it's possible, like you might think this might be possible, have the courage to try. That's how the greatest things have happened.
You don't spend your time being bothered that you can't teleport from here to Japan, because there's a part of you that thinks it's impossible. Moonshot thinking is choosing to be bothered by that.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
Humanity's progress has been a series of amazing, audacious things, from the very small and personal up to the great, big, and grand. And we are a species of moonshots. And to me, that's like the really amazing, poetic, and inspirational thing.
I think our ambitions are a glass ceiling on what we can accomplish.
When you find your passion, you're unstoppable. You can make amazing things happen. It's been true through all of history.
I believe in the human spirit, and I believe that there are always going to be crazy people who will get out of bed one morning and say, you know what? I think I can build a space elevator, and let's go do it. But I think that if we become afraid to take these great big risks, we stop inspiring people. We stop achieving things. And the biggest nightmare scenario is that we won't have what it takes to solve the really big challenges.
When Kennedy said that we would put a man on the moon, it's about the fact that he said, we don't know how to do this yet, and we're gonna do it anyway. And that sends chills up everybody's spine. Because if that happens, what couldn't we do?
So hopefully that gets you in the mood for the next couple days. We're doing big things, and what we've noticed is that as we've built Startup Health and we've met entrepreneurs and innovators and investors all over the world, we realize these entrepreneurs aren't just building regular companies, they're building these health moonshot companies. And so we realized that a new framework was needed to organize all of these entrepreneurs into their respective health moonshots. And so the first moonshot that was obvious to us, that was not only being worked on already, but is actually something that is urgent in need, is the idea about access to care. The idea that we should be able to deliver quality care to everyone around the world, regardless of location or income. We realized that bringing costs down was now possible, not by just reform, but actually by technology, by data, and by thinking about how we can radically reduce the cost to zero. The idea that we can now cure disease, and we see organizations like the Chan Zuckerberg Organization and Foundation commit to eliminating and reducing disease. And we're seeing people that you'll meet tomorrow, like Joe Biden, committed to cancer moonshots and ending cancer as we know it. The idea that we're now prioritizing and able to prioritize women's health and children's health as part of moonshot thinking, and the idea that these organizations that are working on women's health and children's health and nutrition and fitness and brain health, happiness and mental health, and finally longevity make up the 10 health moonshots that we as an organization, we as a global army, are committed to achieving. And we recognize it's not going to be fast, it's not going to be easy, and there's going to be a lot of people saying that's impossible or that's too bold. But the idea behind these 10 moonshots, when you meet the entrepreneurs that are here at this festival working on the Access to Care moonshot, don't ask them what their company does. Ask them what their health moonshot is around access to care. When you meet the entrepreneurs working on cost to zero, when you meet the entrepreneurs working on curing disease, you're going to hear stories that are going to change and hopefully flip your idea of what the entrepreneurs who are getting up every day to face the big, ambitious goals that they're working on and what they need from each of you. The idea that ending cancer, women's health, children's health, nutrition and fitness, brain health, happiness, mental health and well-being, longevity. These entrepreneurs, you see some of them have smiles on their faces, but I can tell you what they desperately need are people who are going to be interested in supporting them in any way possible, whether you're an investor, whether you're from a healthcare organization, whether you're someone who wants to work at a startup. These entrepreneurs are working every day on these health moonshots. And the mindset that's needed, not just by them, but by all of you, is so unique that we've codified it into what we call the health transformer mindset. 8 mindsets that not only do we at Startup Health live by, but at Startup Health, every entrepreneur who's in the Startup Health Moonshot Academy works every day on mastering. This idea around this mindset is about emphasizing that it's not what you think, it's how you think. And if you really want to change your mindset, you need to change the words that you use. You need to change the energy that you put off. And what's fascinating is that when you look at the health transformer mindset, you should ask yourself, do you have one? Do you wish you had one? Do you have the ambition to have one? And recognize that every entrepreneur that you're going to meet, that's part of Startup Health here over the next 2 days, and that every entrepreneur that you meet that's part of Startup Health over the coming months and quarters and years, they all work feverishly to live by and master this mindset. And so the first mindset that I think is the first stage of wondering whether someone is fully committed to achieving their health moonshot is seeing if they're all in and that they've already made a commitment to transforming health. And the idea of being all in is unique because instead of tiptoeing around the idea, instead of saying, maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, the idea behind having a long-term commitment means you've got some permission to take some time to figure it out. And what you want to make sure is that you're surrounded by people who are as committed as you are for the long term. And so it's the easiest way to look and talk to someone and see if they're all in. And that is why that is our first mindset. The second mindset is if you are all in and the people around you are all in, then you want to make sure you're surrounded by supportive people. And so the entrepreneurs who are working on these health moonshots and all of the partners that they want to be partners with are not only equally committed long-term, but they're supportive, recognizing that these entrepreneurs, many of them have left very secure positions in jobs, or they're clinicians who've gone to school and become educated to actually help people in a very different way, are really working feverishly, and that your commitment to being supportive is actually critical to making sure they can succeed. You want to make sure, for the third mindset, that you're stepping back and really recalibrating. The idea that every 90 days is a check-in. What's working? What's not working? Who's helpful? Who's not helpful? And that is why part of Startup Health's core philosophy is every quarter we get together and we talk about that. And we urge every one of you to think about that, whether you're at a company, an organization that's working with startups, or an entrepreneur. This idea of recalibrating every 90 days allows you to live every single day by the fourth mindset, which is, while it's hard, you being able to be confidently ambitious, and your confidence and ambition growing every day, not shrinking. The idea that your confidence and ambition can attract the kind of people who want to help you achieve that moonshot. This is not a short-term game, and the confidence and ambition that entrepreneurs need is actually everything that brings the people to the table that want to work with them, support them, buy from them, partner with them. The fifth mindset for an entrepreneur and for all of the innovators is being open to not only being coachable and listening to other people, but knowing what your unique abilities are and what your unique abilities aren't. And the idea that you can work with people, that you are listening to them, not always taking everything they say exactly the way they say it, but listening and recognizing that you need to be a coachable entrepreneur to be a health transformer. You need to be able to practice gratitude, and you need to be able to keep a clear mind and a healthy body. It's going to be a long time for you to achieve that moonshot, and we know that entrepreneurs and the people around them need to have a healthy mind and a healthy body, which is why this mindset in particular, if not really lived by, leads to really poor decisions. The seventh mindset, and this is one because so many entrepreneurs and so many innovators in this sector have already accomplished so much in their life, is always continually making sure that your future is bigger than your past. You've accomplished a lot already. Don't rest on those laurels. Everything that you've done up until now, everything, is practice for what you're about to do. This idea that the successes and the failures all lead to you working on what you're working on is something that really embodies what a health transformer does to bring what is the eighth mindset. Being batteries included. This idea that you can get up every day, you can walk into every meeting, you can go to sleep every night wondering, am I being batteries included, giving energy, or am I being batteries not included? Am I sucking the energy out of the room? Now, all of us have different times of a day, different times of a week where we're batteries included, batteries not included. But the idea of mastering, the idea not only are you giving energy, but you have no tolerance for people who are draining energy is critical. Because in order to achieve these health moonshots, these mindsets are the ones to master. The idea that every entrepreneur that's in startup health and every partner that either is helping our companies or is part of the Startup Health Network, they all not only embody this mindset, but they want to, and they want to be around people that do. And so this idea has led us to continue over the last 7 years, build a program for entrepreneurs and innovators and health transformers that allows for health moonshot mastery. This idea that the moonshots, the mindsets, and everything about what we're doing is enabling us to organize, support, and invest in a global army of health transformers. The idea that doing a army, linked arm in arm, innovating with the same mindset can allow us to improve together, not alone, the health and well-being of everyone in the world. The idea that we now have 450 health transformers from 18 different countries as part of this army and thousands of partners in our network is really enabled us to build a portfolio of over 200 companies and entrepreneurs working on these 10 moonshots. The idea behind each of these moonshots, as you'll see, some of them, we're looking for more. Many of them, we need to double down and support the ones that are already working on them. But if you're working on, interested in, thinking about these moonshots, I can tell you that there's entrepreneurs every day getting up and working to figure it out. And the idea has it led to our companies over the last 7 years raising $815 million from many of you and other investors around the world to support them on their health moonshot. And so it's interesting to see the kinds of organizations that like these companies, like these entrepreneurs, that enable these companies to enter a new era by bringing in health transformers who have health moonshot companies that fit the bill. Whether it's organizations like Intel and Under Armour, or more recently, Generali, which acquired CareLinks. 14 companies of ours have been acquired over the last 7 years. Now, what's really interesting is that we don't think it's about getting acquired. We think it's about thinking about how our army continues to grow. And what for me is so incredibly rewarding is that we are now 7 years in to a 25-year mission to improve the health and well-being of everyone in the world. And we know this is not about any one of us, but all of us working together. So I want to actually do a little bit of a quick exercise here to get everybody ready for the next 2 days. And it's this idea of seeing, A, whose batteries included, right? Hopefully that was at the door. You weren't allowed in if you weren't batteries included. You were kicked off the list. You might be watching on Facebook. The idea of being batteries included means bring the energy today, bring the energy tomorrow, bring the energy every day. But I want to see, by a showing of standing up, how many investors are in the room right now who are batteries included and excited about supporting health transformers and the health moonshot companies they're working on? Investors, please stand up. All right, let's give them a round of applause. Now, I want you guys to stay standing. First of all, I want all the entrepreneurs to look at the investors. Make sure you recognize the face. I want to stay standing up because we're now going to ask the organizations, the payers, providers, pharmaceutical companies, organizations around healthcare. If you're from any of the organizations committed to supporting health transformers and health moonshots, please stand up as well. If you're a clinician and you're not already standing, I want you to please stand up. And I want to ask all of the entrepreneurs in the room, the health transformers, to please stand up as well. Now, I want everyone to look around the room because everybody individually with their arms down are people working on their individual health moonshot, working on their individual organization, going to work every day, thinking about perhaps something important to them. But what I want everyone to realize, not just today, but every day, is something that we call a global army, and that is being linked together. And together, all of us, whether it's on Startup Health HQ, the platform that Startup Health launched a couple days ago, or it's about the Startup Health Festival, or the many things that happen throughout the year, I'd like to ask you to all link to the person to your left and to the person to your right, arms, right now. Everybody. There should be...
Get everybody up. Let's get everybody up.
So if you're not already standing, please stand up. And I'd like to ask the front row here to come up here a little bit, and the row over there to come up. If you're not linked to the front row or the back row behind you, I want you to link arms with them as well. Keep linking. There's no breaks in this link. Come here. Come on up. Just come here. All right. So, look around this room. We are one global army. We are all working individually, but we are actually able to work collectively to improve the health and well-being of everyone in the world. Not just today, not just tomorrow, but every single day. And over the next 25 years, we will all together achieve these 10 health moonshots. Have a great festival.